Oops, that's the wrong one. What is up, everybody? Sejam bem-vindos. We are back for lesson 45, and we will go directly into the presentation of lesson 45. We did the audio. Make sure you check out the audio and subscribe to the channel. And here we go. So this is lesson 45, and I am Teacher Willy. You can follow me on Instagram at Prof. Willy Brasil or the school account at aces.english. So what are we going to talk about in lesson 45? I'm glad you asked. We're going to talk about mais ou menos, finalmente. Nós vamos falar de mais ou menos. Start and end. We're going to review start and end and expand a little bit. We're going to talk about the difference between desert and dessert and how we know if we're talking about dessert or we're talking about desert. We're going to talk about what do you mean. We already talked about what do you mean. Laura, what does what do you mean?
I don't know.
Glacy, welcome. What does what do you mean?
Ai, peraí, professor. What do you mean? É o que você quer dizer?
O que você quer dizer? Exactly. So we're going to look at two other expressions. One second here. We're going to look at two other expressions for what do you mean. We're also going to talk about looks good, how we can use looks good, what that means, and a lot more stuff today. So let's talk about mais ou menos to start off with. So I'm very happy. I've been planning a mais ou menos video for so long. Na verdade, estou devendo professor nosso há acho que 3 anos. Eu estou devendo para ele vídeo sobre mais ou menos. Ele nem professor nosso é mais, ele migrou para os Estados Unidos, não. Ele migrou para Canadá. Ele mora no Canadá agora, mas finalmente eu vou poder usar o vídeo de mais ou menos. So, let's look at the ways that we say mais ou menos. First of all, if someone asks, how are you? You can say, not bad. Okay, so we translate that usually as nada mal. Geralmente nos traduzimos como nada mal, not bad. I'm okay. We oftentimes translate as mais ou menos. So the thing that's important here, a coisa importante aqui é que not bad e I'm okay vai depender no tom que você fala, porque not bad pode ser not bad, right? Daí é nada mal, é nada mal que pode também em português nós podemos usar nada mal para dizer nada mal. So it can be something that's mais ou menos, ou pode ser também mais ou menos. So pode ser o mais ou menos mais para mais e o mais ou menos mais para menos. Mesma coisa, I'm okay. I'm okay. Ou I'm okay. A maioria do tempo que alguém fale I'm okay, porém, vai ser o mais ou menos mais para menos. Se eu perguntar um amigo meu como você está, e ele falar I'm okay, eu vou perguntar, oh, what's wrong? Why? Porque ele não falou uma das formas de bom, que nós mais usamos é good, mas poderia ser poderia ser uma das outras formas de bom que nós temos. Eu vou perguntar por quê. Daí, isso é uma revisão das coisas que nós falamos lá atrás, quando nós começamos o intermediário, lição 31, foi essa coisa de I'm okay e not bad. Eu vou colocar lá em cima na direita o link para a lição 31, se essa for sua primeira vez conosco hoje. Agora, are you happy? Are you happy? We don't say so. E nós vamos falar mais sobre so, mas kind of, sort of. Ok? Você pode responder só kind of, que seria mais ou menos, sort of, mais ou menos, Ou você pode colocar kind of ou sort of na frente de um adjetivo. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of good. I'm kind of bad. Então, tem todas essas possibilidades. Agora, kinda é a redução. Então, nós temos aquela coisa de, já falamos de wanna e gonna. I wanna go, I'm gonna go. Nós temos também kinda e sorta, que dá para usar. I'm kinda sad. Então, esse kind of, no falar, muitas vezes fica kinda. I'm kinda sad. I'm sorta sad. E claro que essas duas reduções são informais porque são reduções, mas sorta é até mais informal do que kinda. E eu diria que sort of, até com of, fica bem informal também. Agora, quando nós falamos coisas com medidas, principalmente com números. How far is it? How far is it to Rio? It's about 5 miles. Ou it's around 5 miles. Pode ser qualquer uma dessas palavras, about ou around. Não as duas. Eu queria evitar alguém falando it's about around. Ou vai ser uma ou outra. It's about 5 miles ou it's around 5 miles, mas servem da mesma forma. It's about ou it's around. Agora, mais formal, it's aproximadamente. It's approximately 5 miles, but that would be more formal. Seria mais formal, mais técnico para falar approximately. Agora, essa aqui, it's roughly 5 miles. É simplesmente mais ou menos. Rough é duro ou não é plano. Várias coisas assim de textura, mas quando você fala it's roughly 5 miles, é traduzido como mais ou menos 5 milhas. It's 5 miles or so. Aí outro jeito de dizer mais ou menos. It's 5 miles or so. It's about 5 miles, it's around 5 miles, it's approximately 5 miles, it's roughly 5 miles, it's 5 miles or so. E my favorite, meu predileto, minha predileta de todas essas formas é ish. I love ish. Ish é tão bom. What time will you be there? I'll be there at 5-ish. Mais ou menos 5 horas. 5-ish. What color is your house? It's bluish. É meio azul. Então, essa coisa de, principalmente com cores, essa coisa de ish, com blue, or yellowish, or reddish, or orangish, significa meio azul, meio vermelho, ou mais ou menos vermelho. E daí, quando nos colocamos com horários, I'll be there at 5-ish, mais ou menos 5 horas. Pode ser 10 para 5, 5:10, ou até um pouco maior, mas ao redor das 5 horas. 5-ish. E até com ish, a coisa muito legal, se alguém perguntar, do I look good? Do I look good? Yeah, you look good. Ish. Então, um jeito para brincar com alguém, ou ser ruim mesmo, e dizer, não, você tá bonito. Mais ou menos. É um jeito de brincar que é muito útil, essa coisa de ish. Agora, duas coisas que nós temos que cuidar. Uma coisa que nós temos que evitar e tirar de nosso vocabulário, e outra coisa que nós temos que ter cuidado. Então, por isso que tem o semáforo de cor amarelo e vermelho. More or less é muito formal. Eu gosto de dizer, eu não conheço ninguém que use em conversas normais, conversas do dia a dia. Eu uso de vez em quando estou ensinando em inglês, mas é porque eu tenho o hábito de usar uma linguagem um pouco mais elevada, um pouco mais formal, quando eu estou ensinando em inglês. Então, de vez em quando eu uso more or less, mas no dia a dia eu não uso more or less. Por exemplo, we more or less have to. So, por exemplo, You are going to work during vacation, during your vacation. You're going to work during your vacation. Você vai trabalhar, ou vocês vão trabalhar durante as suas férias. Nós, mais ou menos, temos que, porque não dá tempo por qualquer razão. Right? So we more or less have to. Você pode falar, we kind of have to. Seria o que seria mais usado no dia a dia. We kind of have to, ou we sort of have to. Mas existe o more or less. Mas por causa do português, os alunos geralmente querem usar direto. More or less, more or less, more or less. Mas é pouco usado, é mais formal, mais técnico. Agora, so já tire. Tire completamente do seu vocabulário. I'm so today. Isso grita, eu sou aluno de inglês, que não é ruim, provavelmente vai ser entendido, mas é aquela coisa, que bonitinho, não é daqui. Que é alguma coisa que nós queremos cada vez mais evitar. Então, tire so. E eu digo para a maioria dos meus alunos, tire more or less. Agora, eu tenho uma aluna que está fazendo aula comigo, que ela vai fazer um teste para ganhar um emprego com um escritório de advocacia. Então, o nível de linguagem dela tem que ser mais alto. Não pode ser do dia a dia. Então, com ela, eu não digo evita falar more or less, tire more or less, por causa do foco que é o inglês dela. Mas se o seu foco for viajar, tire o more or less. Seria o que eu diria para a maioria das pessoas. Agora, more or less versus about or around. So, about or around são mais usados. The movie ends at about 9. O filme termina mais ou menos 9 horas. More or less, the weather is more or less the same as yesterday. Okay? So, more or less aqui é mais técnico. Seria uma situação mais formal. Kind of, since it was kind of cold, I decided to bring a coat. Sendo que foi meio frio, mais ou menos frio, eu decidi trazer um casaco. Eu estou mais ou menos. I'm okay. Repare, I'm not so. No, I'm so. I'm okay. I'm not bad. Daí a inflexão que você usa quando você fala isso vai mostrar muito. Begin and end. So we saw begin, we saw start and we saw end before. Now we have begin and start, finish and end. Who can tell me what's the difference between begin? Well, it says right here, doesn't it? Begin is more formal and start is less formal. Finish, when we look at the difference between finish and end, finish gives more of an idea of complete. So if I were to say that for a synonym, a verb that's a synonym for finish, I would say complete, where a verb that's a synonym for end is stop. So finish gives that idea of completion, where end doesn't. Begin and start are synonyms. They're straight synonyms. Begin is more formal, start is less formal. There is almost no difference between begin and start. The main difference between them is that start is also a noun. I am at the start. They are at the start. They're at the beginning. Okay, so begin is a verb. Beginning is the noun. Start is a verb. Start is also a noun. So that's basically the main two differences are that start is less formal and used more often, as the less formal words are, but it's also a noun, where begin is not also a noun. You have to change begin to beginning. So the start is where we begin from some point in time. I'll start a new diet tomorrow. The start of the school year in Brazil is in February. End is the final part of something, when something stops. When does the movie end? I'll finish my work at the end of the day. Now, this is a way to help you remember when to use finish and end, but it's not 100%. We don't always use finish when it's something that's complete, and we don't always use end when the idea is stop and not complete, but most of the time it will help you remember. Let's go on to dessert. Dessert has two S's, which means we go back for seconds. Desert has two S's, which means we go back for seconds. What does go back for seconds mean? Who can tell me what go back for seconds means? Does anybody know? Anybody heard that? Go back for seconds é repetir. Quando você está comendo. Repetir. I would like seconds. Are there seconds? Is a way to say, is there more food? Or I would like to repeat what we say, right? In Portuguese, you can say, I gostaria de repetir or whatever. But in English, we say, I would like seconds. Or someone could ask you, would you like seconds? So in this case, we can remember that seconds, to get seconds, to have seconds, to get seconds, I would like seconds, eu gostaria de repetir. And in this case, why is that important? Because dessert has two S's, so you go back for seconds because it's dessert. You don't want to return to the desert. You go to the desert, it's hot, you're thirsty, you don't want to return and repeat in the desert, but you do want to have seconds, you do want to repeat your dessert. So dessert is a dish served at the end of the meal. The whole family want to have cake for dessert or wants to have cake for dessert. If it's more American English, we use the family wants. British English uses the whole family want. Actually, in this case, it would be wants because it's the whole family. So it's one. Oops, not families, wants. So the whole, let me get this up here. So the whole family wants to have cake for dessert. Our favorite dessert is vanilla ice cream. After dessert, we usually have coffee. Very Brazilian.
Sério, professor? Vocês não têm esse costume?
I don't know because I didn't drink coffee until I came to Brazil, but I don't believe so. I don't believe that many people, usually people, for example, families where they drink, they usually have a nightcap, what's called a nightcap after dinner, which is like either cognac or whiskey or whatever, if they're a family that drinks. But I do not know anyone that drinks coffee after dinner because it's hard to sleep. So unless you're addicted to caffeine, like
Não, depois do almoço
in
mesmo.
some places.
Depois do almoço que a gente toma. Professor, por que esse 2 seconds? Porque você deu os exemplos sem usar esse 2.
No, there are
I'd
two
like
S's.
seconds.
I said
I'd like
there,
seconds.
right, but there are two S's in dessert, so you go back for seconds.
Ah, tá, por causa dos 2 S's que você queria relacionar, tá, entendi.
So desert or dessert, I want to order dessert. Let's repeat, dessert, everybody, dessert. Ladies, dessert.
Dessert.
I'm from the desert. Everybody, desert.
Desert.
Good. So, I want to order dessert. Dessert. I'm from the desert. Desert. And that's the difference in those two words. And to remember, don't eat dessert in the desert because it melts.
E nem em Palmas.
That's right. In the dry months, it is very much like a desert in Palmas in the dry months. In the wet months, not so much, but definitely like a desert in the dry months, like right now. How's that? How so? Como assim? So how's that? So the two other expressions that we have besides what do you mean? So what do you mean is very common. O que você quer dizer? O que você quer dizer com isso? But what do you mean? Muitas vezes pode ser, pode dar a ideia que eu acho que você falou mal de mim ou alguma pessoa alguma coisa assim, what do you mean? Tá falando alguma coisa? Tá me tirando? Tá me zoando? So, how's that? Até eu conheço pessoas geralmente mais velhas, mas falam, how's that? Quando não escutam, right? I say, I'm sorry, but some people say, how's that? Some people just say, what? Oh, how so? So, for example, the world is going to end in 2022. How's that? Ou como assim? Eu quero uma explicação melhor, maior, porque é alguma coisa tipo, por que você acha isso? How so? How so também pode ser traduzido como de que jeito? Ou como isso vai acontecer? Dependendo da coisa que a pessoa falar na frase anterior, esse how so pode ser como é que isso vai acontecer? Como é que não vai, a coisa vai chegar a esse fim que você falou? Badly is very interesting because it's in a severe, unsuccessful, harmful way. So we have bad, which is when you say something describing, right? It's an adjective. He's bad. He's a bad person. But he does things badly. Okay. So for example, he drives badly. And it could be a harmful way. It could be another way is he teaches badly, right? So he's unsuccessful. Might not be harmful, might not be severe, but it could be unsuccessful. He teaches badly. He doesn't get his point across. So badly, very common adverb. Both buildings were badly damaged by the fire. I think she plays the guitar very badly. The event was badly organized. He needs the money really badly. Any questions on these sentences, on what they mean? No questions? All right. So when we go from bad to really bad. Really bad, like awful. Awful. Let's repeat, everybody. Awful.
Awful. Awful.
Mm-hmm. Horrible, everybody. Horrible.
Horrible. Horrible.
Horrible. Okay. And so it's common for my students to try and say horrible, but remember it's horrible, and then terrible. Everybody, terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. Very good. So these are three ways. These are three synonyms. I would not usually say that awful is worse than horrible or terrible is worse than awful. They are all very bad. They're all really, really bad. I think that awful is probably more commonly used than horrible and terrible in my experience, and that might be because it's 2 syllables and horrible and terrible are 3 syllables. But in my experience, awful is probably more used, but I don't think I don't think you use awful to say that the situation is worse than if the situation were horrible or terrible. I just think that it's easier to say. And then the other thing, notice that each of these has the stressed syllable. Notice that in each of these words, the stressed syllable is the first syllable. Awful, and not horrible or horrible, but horrible, and not terrible or terrible, but terrible. So all of them, in all of these words, the stressed syllable is the first syllable.
Professor, espera, volta lá. Professor.
Yo.
Então, esse terrible, quando a gente fala que a pessoa está muito bonita, eles não falam nos filmes assim, terrible, não, é outra palavra? Tipo, tá tão...
Muito bonito?
Não precisa ser bonito, algum adjetivo, para deixar algum adjetivo mais forte, assim.
Terribly já é outra coisa, daí é advérbio.
Não é terrific, não existe isso?
Terrific, yeah, mas terrible now é terrific.
Mas terrific não é terrível?
No, terrific is a false cognate.
Ah, então tá. Desculpa.
That's a very good point. Let's look. That's a very good point. Let's look at that. So terrible terrível. Terrific fantástico.
Beleza, professor, obrigada.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because this should be whenever you see a list of the most common, well, not most common, but the most important false cognates, this should be on every list of the most important false cognates, because it's so close. It's like when I was learning Portuguese, two words that really killed me were sensível e sensato. For us, it's I mean, it sensitive and sensible, you know, it's the same kind of thing. They seem very close. The cognates that go together seem like the other ones, and so it's difficult at times to remember those. But yeah, terrible is bad, really bad, and terrific is really good. So horrible is stronger than awful. I'm actually going to change that, because I would say, to me, they're the same. At least I wouldn't change what I'm going to say, because it's worse than awful. So the weather was awful. He's a pretty awful driver. That was a horrible thing to say. He's got a horrible cold. We've just received some terrible news. You're a terrible liar. These are all really good examples. The weather was awful. He's a pretty awful driver. And remember, pretty depends on which one you put the emphasis on. So he's a pretty awful driver. He's a pretty awful driver. If you put more emphasis on awful, he's a pretty awful driver. Then you're saying he's very awful. If you say he's pretty awful, well, then I put awful. It's hard, because nesse caso, você lembra os dois sentidos de pretty é muito ou é razoavelmente. Então, é difícil colocar a ênfase no pretty, que daria razoavelmente, porque daí, razoavelmente com awful já tá no máximo que pode ser. But if you were to say, for example, he's pretty good, daí coloca no good, daí é muito. He's pretty good, daí coloca ênfase no pretty e fica razoavelmente. Parece que. So, 4 main ways to say parece que. Remember, I don't like the translations in movies of I guess as eu acho. There are situations where it can be eu acho, but the majority of situations in English where we say I guess, the better translation is parece que. There's something that brought me to that point. Algo me levou a pensar aquilo. Não é só que eu acho, mas alguma coisa me levou. I guess she's not happy. Então ela fez alguma coisa que me mostrou a infelicidade dela. It seems like she's not happy. Parece que ela não está feliz. It looks like she's not happy, and it sounds like she's not happy. These last two, I separated, and then I forgot to save it. But these last two, it looks good. It looks like and it sounds like is because I see something. If I see something, I can say it looks like she's not happy. She's throwing things. She's breaking things. Then I can say it looks like she's not happy. If she's yelling, if I can hear her in the other room and she's yelling, I hear things, dishes crashing. I hear whatever, loud noises and those kinds of things. I can say it sounds like she's not happy. If I can see it but not hear it, I can't say it sounds like. If I can hear it but not see it, it's not impossible to use it looks like, because we have the look that is metaphorical, but it's less often used for things that we don't see. So the four main ways: I guess she's not happy, it seems like she's not happy, it looks like she's not happy, and it sounds like she's not happy. Any questions on that?
Professor, guess é adivinhar também, né?
Yes, to
Se-
guess. Uh-huh.
Ah, tá. É diferente desse, então. É isso?
Yes, yes.
Porque existe passado de guess? Existe?
Guessed, yeah.
Guess.
It's the same pronunciation as hóspede.
É mesmo, verdade.
Yep, yep. Except it's spelled differently, but same pronunciation. To seem or looks like. So to seem, to give a certain impression, probably. It seems that the weather in California is very bad, and it's going to get worse, by the way. It's supposed to be up to 130 in some places. That all of the Western United States is going to be on fire in a month. It's going to be terrible. She doesn't seem too worried. Ela não parece muito preocupada. Looks like, possible future, or to be similar in appearance. So it sure looks like snow today, or it looks like it's going to snow today. It could be either one. And then we also have, I look very much like my father. So you can be like someone, pode ser como alguém, or you can look like someone, parecer, like your face or your build, a sua estrutura, your build.
Professor,
Those can be.
be like seria mais para... Não aparência, é o jeito daí, seria?
Usually, yes, that's very correct. Usually he, but you can say he's like his father, well, I would say dad. He's like his dad. Then that gives the idea of the way that he acts. And then if you say he looks like, then you're usually talking more about appearance. That's right. That's a very good point. So going from it looks like to it looks good, and it sounds like to it sounds good. Gostei, parece bom, parece uma coisa boa. Looks good, sounds good. So you can say it looks good about food, for example. Oh, it looks good. Or if someone has an idea, let's go, for example, tomorrow we're going to, where are we going tomorrow? I forgot. Let's say Lagoa do Japonês. We're going to, so I can say, oh, that sounds good. Okay, so it could be something that sounds delicious. You can say it sounds good, or a good idea. It sounds good. Also, if you smell something, you can say it smells good, or it feels good. All of those senses you can use with good. It looks good, sounds good, smells good, feels good. All of those. But it also, you can also use it looks good and it sounds good. Well, it sounds good you can use more metaphorically. It sounds like a good idea, for example. Or eu gostei da ideia. So to be visually attractive, desirable, looks good. These clothes look good on you. The vase looks good anywhere. So there we're talking more physically and not metaphorically. Sounds good. To hear something good, I'll meet you here tomorrow. Sounds good. Okay, so like I would say, gostei da ideia. Parece alguma coisa boa. Sounds good. The waterfall sounds nice. I like the sound of the waterfall. I like the sound of the birds in the morning. When I go for a walk, I love the sound of the birds in the morning. So I could say they sound good or they sound nice. Must is used to show that it's necessary or very important that something happens. We've talked about this before, but just to review, expressing an opinion about something that is logically very likely. So we have two meanings. We have the meaning of when something is what I say 100% obligation. You don't have a choice. Otherwise, bicho vai pegar. Or if you're expressing an opinion. So the building is on fire, people inside must run. It's just a little bit more formal than saying people inside have to run. Have to, I also put obligation at 100%, but must is a little bit more formal in that situation. He helped that blind man, he must be cool. So ele ajudou o homem cego, ele deve ser cara legal. Right? Ele não tem o dever, como a primeira frase, tem o dever, tem que correr. Aqui é a segunda frase aqui de expressing an opinion, tá expressando opinião, que é me levou a achar isso. Ele ajudou o homem cego, então isso me levou a pensar que ele deve ser alguém legal. I like to use deve ser que seja. When the second meaning is deve ser que seja. Deve ser que ele seja uma pessoa boa, uma pessoa legal. When you got lost in the forest, you must have been worried. So again, my opinion is that deve ser que você ficou preocupado quando estava perdido. Together with proximity to another person or people at the same time. And together requires someone. So we have to have two people is very important to remember. So when we have together in English, it requires someone else. So two or more people. So I went together doesn't work in English. You could say I went together with her, but then you don't need together. You could say I went with her. So John always comes together with her. It's just more emphasis on the fact that they're together. Do you all work together? So do you all is more than one person. We graduated together. We is always more than one person. So that you're okay there, but you have to have two people in the sentence to use together. And that's all, folks. Any questions? Ladies? No? All right. Thank you very much for being here. That's lesson 45. Don't forget to subscribe.
Laura, para você também congelou? Só para
Parou
saber.
tudo, eu achei que fosse minha internet.
Eu achei que não sabia se era minha, se era...
Eu achei que era minha também.
I'm back. I don't know how much of that was actually caught by the internet, so I'll have to check afterwards. Oh, it's